Welcome to a two-part video that's entitled Creating Delegates. And the purpose of this two-part video is to show you the simplest possible delegate example so you can get your head around delegates and be real comfortable with how you create them, how they function, how you can manipulate them, because these are the basis for events in the Windows operating system, and that's where the power is. Events, callbacks, and so forth. There's a lot you can do with delegates, but these are really hard for people to grasp in live situations, both delegates and especially events, so I'm going to smooth that out for you here. So notice I'm creating in Windows, in Visual Studio, that is, I'm in Windows, but Visual Studio 2012, a Windows Forms application. I'm naming it Delegate Example, and if you'll look in your Work Files folder, you'll see this code or something similar to it, and you can just copy and paste or open the solution, or you can build it yourself. I would strongly recommend you follow along with me and build it yourself. So we'll click this and we'll create our delegate example, and we'll set this up really quickly here, just like we've done everything in the course. A single form, a single button, and then we're going to invoke delegates off of that and start to play with it and let you really understand what's going on with these things. And so I'm going to drop my button on the form, and then I'm going to need a class to work with some methods. So I'll go out into Solution Explorer, I'll right click on my project name, I'll do Add Class, and I'll take Class 1. I'll just let that be the name, take that default, and right here I am just going to paste in three methods that we're going to call. All right, and notice I'm getting a squiggly under message box, and I can easily get rid of that with a using statement. Windows, nope, that's not right. System.windows.forms, and that'll make that squiggly go away. So notice we have a do this, a do that, and a do something else. Here's the important thing. It does not offer a return. It has a name, and it takes one parameter, one argument, and that is a string. Notice this method, same signature. This method, same signature. The only thing different is the actual method names. That's important for a delegate. Now let's go to the code behind and let's look at creating a delegate. Now we're going to have to create our delegate at the class level, so we don't want to be inside any other method or sub that's being run here. And so right here I'm going to create my delegate. And so I'm just going to use public delegate. Now this is very important. Make sure this makes sense to you. We're going to create a delegate, and notice this is what that delegate is. We're going to put the signature. Void do method, and then we're going to take a string, and it takes one parameter. Now just like that, we just created a delegate. Now the name of our delegate is do method, and this do method delegate will now point us to any method that we direct it to that has this signature. Okay, it is a method that does not have a return, and it has one string parameter. Okay, now if we're okay with that, we can point this to that. Now let's go into our button click event, and that's not the way to do it. Let me undo my mess here. Okay, now let's go into our button click event, and let's start to work with it. Well, the first thing we need to do is create an instance of our class so that we can access those methods that we have out there. And so that gives us that, all right? And so we have our class. We now have an object C of type class 1. So we can use this, obviously, here to access our methods. Do this, do that, do something else, okay? Now, let's start to work through using this delegate. Now, there's going to be a lot of these examples, and I'll go as far as I can with the time I have here, okay? So the first thing I want to do is create a delegate object off of my delegate type up here. My delegate type is do method, and it has this signature, right? I'm going to come down here, and I'm just like I would with a class. I'm going to the do method type, and I'm going to call the actual delegate do it, and I'm going to set it equal to a new instance of do method, and I'm going to pass it C do this. Pretty straightforward, right? Do it is my delegate. It's my delegate object, and it is just like an object C right here, and it is now pointing to the C class do this method. All right, now if I go look in my class, here is my do this method, and that's what I'm pointing to. And so when I execute this delegate or I invoke it, it's going to call this method, and I will see this message box that will tell me class 1 do this was called and sent whatever I pass in string A. All right. And so let's go back here. And now let's invoke this method. All right. And so to invoke this method, I can call, I'm going to do it two ways. I can call do it dot invoke. And this is telling me, hey, go do this method, and it's expecting me to pass a string. All right. So I'll just put test message in here and close this. And now if I click the button, I'll create the object class. I'll create my instance of my delegate that I created up here. Then I'll invoke it. And this should call that particular method out of the class 1 object. So here we go. We'll start this. We'll run it. Click our button. And there it was. It called it. Okay. Now you're thinking, well, that's really cool. What's the big deal? Couldn't I have just called that anyway? And yes, you could. But let me show you one more thing. There is a shortcut. Do it. Test another message. And you're going to see that either one of these, we're going to get 2 boxes now because we're going to call it twice, but you don't have to use the word invoke. All right. So let me start this, run it one more time. And notice there's the first one, test message, and then there's test another message. So either one will work. Now, get your head wrapped around that. I'm going to end this with part 1 here. Join me in part 2. We're going to do some really cool things with these and really start to make some lights come on for you and really lay some groundwork for events. So join me in part 2.